Hi, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to talk about the famous concept called as OOPS or classes and objects. Now, very important. Why? Because Python is a language, amphibious language, which has support for both function-oriented programming as well as object-oriented programming. Now, Python may you can very well have functions written directly, variables written directly, performing operations directly. You also have the option of creating them as classes and then writing functions and properties inside the classes. So it has the power of both the stuffs. It has the power of both the stuffs. So that is something a big advantage which we have with respect to Python. Okay. And we need to understand the concept first. Once we understand the concept, then it will be pretty easy for us to relate Python with OOPS. Now, please understand, OOPS is going to be a big study. We are going to cover this in almost every language which you are going to learn. See, in our entire curriculum, we have C, C++, Java, Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, fine, Golang, so many things we are going to learn. And believe me, all these languages, fine, they have this OOPS somewhere or the other implemented. Now, the more we understand OOPS is better. Okay, so that's what going to be the objective here. We'll start somewhere in the base. We'll cover the basics today in this video, which will help us to understand OOPS in Python as much as possible. Okay, OOPS stand for your object-oriented programming structure. Now, please understand this because most of the internet and most of the books says different word. I mean different expansion of this object-oriented programming, software, object-oriented programming, system, object-oriented programming solutions. No, it's basically structure. Now, what exactly it means? Normal structures and object oriented structures, what is the difference? Normal structures, fine, which are needed for writing programs, they don't support relationships, whereas structures which support relationships are called as object oriented structures. So primarily these structures can handle complex scenarios. This is what primarily the difference is. See, a structure, like for example, I'm a structure. Fine. I live with relationship. If I live with relationship, I can handle complex scenarios. If I don't live with relationship, I cannot handle complex scenarios. Correct or not? Relationship means what basically? I mean, is father, child, is that what I'm talking about? No. I'm talking about how I'm related with the other classes. Like for example, I can say I know you, you know me. This called as association. Fine. I am part of this training program. You are also part of this training program. Part of is aggregation. You are not the entire whole thing of the program. Whereas I am in charge of the whole program. I am not just a aggregate. I am also a composite of this program. Apart from this, you can say our program is a kind of training program. I am a kind of human. We call this as generalization. Now, please understand. If I could support this kind of relationships in a structure, I call that as an object oriented structure. And this will ensure that we solve complex problems. Now, please understand this. This particular study was given by a person by name, a scientist by name Alan Kay, and he came up with this hoops. And later, people like Grady Booch, Rumba, Ivar Jacobson, they came up with several studies on hoops. In fact, Grady Booch has written a book on OOAD, Object Oriented Analysis and Design. He is the one who created even these three people, Grady Booch, Rumba, and Ivar Jacobson created a study called as OOAD, and they came up with a group called as Object Management Group, and they created even a language called UML, Unified Modeling Language, and also a software called as Rational Rose through IBM company. And in Rational Rose, they've created a process called as Unified Process, Rational Unified Process, which is a very sort of process for project development. So this is not a small thing. Now, because industry is complex because the problems are complex, because the requirements are complex. You need structures which are complex in nature. See, for example, let's say I have, this paper. This paper is an ordinary structure, whereas this cell phone is not an ordinary structure, it's a complex structure. And for that I need to relate. See, if you break that, so many things are there, right? You need to relate things, only then you can address a complex, and that complex structure solves a complex problem. And for that, OOAD, oops, is the one which we use fine extensively. Got it, guys? Am I making sense? And believe me, real life is completely object oriented, because real life is always complex and we are very complex objects. We are the most intelligent, most shrewd, most cunning, most talented objects in the entire known universe. How can we be non-object oriented? Correct or not? Structure, then where do you use structure objects, sir? Where do you use non-related structures? For simple scenarios. If the scenario is simple, use go for non-object oriented structures. If the scenario is complex, go for object oriented structure. And Python is a two side knife. Both the sides are sharp. One you can use for small problems, where you can use non-object oriented structures. Wherever you have complex problems, use object oriented structures. Got it, guys? Is that clear? Okay, fine. What are the advantages of OOPS? Now this is very important question. Why? Because when we who are working in this IT profession for more than 25 years, we know if we don't follow OOPS, fine, believe me, even we cannot have a peaceful life. These points which are mentioned here are practical points which we are coming across on a daily basis. See, if you follow OOPS, your programs can be agile. Your program, in fact, a book is written by Eric Gama, and also by four eminent authors, gang of four we call it as. One of them is Eric Gama also in that. Eric Gama, John Williside, Richard Helm, called as design patterns, proven solutions for recurring problem context. And by following that, you can make your programs agile. By following the principles of OOPS, you can make your program agile. And by making your program agile, you can ensure that you have a peaceful application development and maintenance. Believe me, guys, as I'm talking very sensible. You may not know at this point of time as a student, but take this as my word. If you can carry out this study throughout your life, these are some of the advantages you'll get. First and foremost, you'll get peace in life. Number two, you can see sunrise and sunset. Now, please understand, it's a very deep word, because most of us IT professionals, when we started our IT career, when we didn't know OOPS, we never used to see sunrise or sunset. So morning we'll get up after 8 o'clock, and at night we'll sleep at 2 o'clock. So that's how the life has become. But with OOPS, definitely it's possible for me to have a peaceful life by setting my targets properly, developing my application properly, and giving solutions properly. And this is fact. Please understand that. Okay. And whenever a new requirement comes from the client, it will fall like a honey in your ears. But if you don't follow OOPS, believe me, it will be like a painful thing for you. One more time requirement has come, another headache. But believe me, this is what money is, right? You get new requirement, you get more money, you get more income. But if you're going to feel bad about new requirement, how are we going to make money? Anyway, so please look at these points. These are very interesting points. These are my own personal experiences I have placed in the advantages. Normally books may you won't find these advantages. You learn from there whatever it is written, but these are my personal advantages which I have achieved, and I am achieving it by following groups. Getting it? Yes. Okay. Before we move on into programming, let's understand some words, find a glossary of words, so that we know the terms we use in OOPS. First and foremost, class. See, in OOPS, a class is referred as a blueprint, a plan. Like, for example, if I want to build a house, I draw a plan. I draw a house plan. In fact, you go to an architect, fine, he will have a house plan, correct or not? Now that house plan is what we call it as a class. With the help of the class, you can create multiple objects like Akshaya or Appasamy builders. Fine, they have their no plan once created, and that is used again and again. Every building you see, it looks same. So a single plan, they would have got approval, and they use it again and again, again and again, again and again for creating multiple buildings. Correct or not? So a class is basically a blueprint. In fact, the architect gives you a paper, the plan, and it will be in blue color. In fact, maybe that's the reason it is called a blueprint. And after that, you create buildings out of that. So that building is what we call as an object. A real life entity is what we called as object. Getting that, guys? Fine. Apart from this, the keyword entity is also referring an object. Entities refer to multiple objects. Plural of entity. Fine, is entities. Got it. Inheritance, a very important word, we use it in our life. Inheritance is primarily like viewed in two ways. When I was in my during my studies, a teacher was teaching inheritance in my adjacent class. I was just overhearing that because I was standing in the corridor. So the teacher was telling, you have bald head because your father had bald head, or your father had bald head, you will have bald head. Why? Because of inheritance. So all the students now laugh and smile, and they enjoy that, because one student will have bald head. Immediately they will relate, and immediately that student will get angry, right? So he will ask the next question. So naturally, that is students. No, I mean, we all of us were students once, right? When I was a student once, right? Could understand the no, I mean, nature. So the immediately the student asked next, sir, my father smokes, but I don't smoke. Now the teacher is also witty. When he says that's a private property. Private property is not inherited. Now, this example looks very genuine and very natural, but believe me, at that point of time, I didn't understood anything. But when I started learning, understanding things, I understood this is a wrong no example. This is the fact. This is a wrong example. Why this wrong example is because in terms of oops, inheritance is a relationship, and this relationship is called as kind of relationship. Now, what is kind of? Kind of means the child is a kind of parent. Now, if father and child has inheritance, then child should replace the parent. See, my father was a collector means, can I go and sit in chair and say I am a kind of collector? Can I replace him? If somebody wants my father, can I go there? I cannot, right? So, practically speaking, father child doesn't come under inheritance. That's a biological inheritance. And what we are talking about is not biological inheritance. What we are talking about is relationship. Relationship which exists between classes. Like, for example, my cat is related to the animal kingdom. How? Cat is a kind of animal. I am a kind of human. I am a inheritance of human. My cat is inheriting animal properties. I am inheriting human properties. If somebody wants an animal, I can send my cat. If somebody wants a human, I can go there. Now this is called as inheritance. Please understand. Now, not the father child. Father and child is basically an association. Why? Because the child is told by the mother that he and so is his father, because of which the child knows that he is his father. So it's a knowledge of relationship. It's not a kind of relationship. Please understand this. So here all we have is a kind of. Kind of means I should replace my parent. Somebody wants, I am a child of human. My cat is a kind of child of animal. So if somebody wants an animal, I can send. Somebody wants a human, I can go there. So this is what primarily we call this as. Getting it? Fine. So this is one view of looking at. Another view by which you can look at it is whatever properties the human class have, I will have. Whatever properties the animal class will have, the cat will have. Which means God would have created hierarchies of classes. Fine. Thereby, it's easy for him to plan things. So common things he will keep on the top. Specialized things he will keep it in the bottom. All humans can smile. I can also smile. Correct or not? You can also smile. Which means smile is a common property across all humans. Animals, they don't have the property itself. They don't smile. Except hyena. Hyena can smile. Fine. Hyena can smile. Fine. Whereas we all can smile. That's animals may no animal can smile. That is normal. But one or two animals is given that property of smiling. Getting that? Monkeys can smile a little bit. Hyena can smile. I mean, I don't know whether smiles or not, but keeps the face like that. Fine. But we will cry if a hyena comes before us. Even if it smiles, we will cry. Correct or not? Okay. Anyway, so here you have something called as parent class, child class. So parent class is definitely called as a fine classifier class, and the bottom class is called as a classification class. And please understand, the classifier classes will always be abstract in nature. They are not visible. Basically, they are not visible. Like for example, I have a class called paint and red paint. Red paint is a kind of paint, correct or not? If somebody wants a paint, I can give red paint. Now you go to a shop where it is written paint shop. Now go to the shop guy and say, give me paint. Now he will immediately ask you which paint. Now you repeat, no, 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 you have written paint. Give me paint. So will he be able to give? So he will take you inside and nicely give you paint. Correct or not? So we cannot see the parents. Parents are basically abstract. Abstract means something which is not present. It is just a specification, just a standard, which the rest common find rest the classifications follow. That's why we call the parent classes are always abstract by nature. Breather. So I'm covering little bit of it. There's enough, but when we cover Java, when we talk about slowly we will learn this. So take this as a lifetime study. Now you have at least got some idea on what is inheritance. Two views have shown. Got it, guys? What are the advantages you get? Now, first of all, find code reusability is one. Parent no code is available in the child. This is not the only advantage of inheritance. Inheritance also gives one identity. Say, I belong to humankind. My cat belongs to animal kind. It belongs. It gives me identity. And number two, because I can identify, I can mix and match things. Like you would have seen in your childhood days, favorite serial Doraemon, and the main character name is Nobita. Doraemon will always try to mix and match with friendly with cats, and Nobita will be trying to be friendly with humans. Correct or not? So here, the classification brings in the right composition. Go to kitchen, your mother would have classified things properly. Best structure in the world is your mother's kitchen. Go and find out the mother's kitchen, you'll find all the objects properly classified, because of which she finds it easy to do composition. In fact, based on that, ice cream company called as Ibaco, when they have come up with a shop where you go there, you find creams, you find nuts, you find toppings, you find fruits. So different classification. Now you mix and match, make a tasty ice cream for you. Correct or not? So buffet, like that. So that is one. And one more thing is like even the objects which you create using inheritance are reusable. Are reusable. Fine. For example, a paintbrush is there. What it can accept? Red paint, blue paint, green paint, or paint. It can accept paint, right? Which means a paintbrush created to accept paint can be reused to paint either red paint or green paint or blue paint. That means the using object of the parent class will become reusable. Correct or not? If I say this paintbrush is for red paint, then it is only for red paint. But if I put it in inheritance, paint, red paint, blue paint, green paint, I say paintbrush is for paint, then the paintbrush becomes reusable. So objects are also reusable. So please understand, guys, there are plenty of advantages for inheritance. So next time when somebody asks you what are the advantages of inheritance, say I put 6 points here. Polymorphic query, now very important. Now, a advertisement is written. Shoe factories are invited to my exhibition. Now, who and all can come? Because shoe factory is a common noun. And under that Bata shoe factory, Lakani shoe factory, Ida shoe factory, so many are there. Now that becomes a polymorphic query. Now, if I say Bata shoe factory invited, only Bata shoe factory can go there. Whereas if I say shoe factory, everybody can go. See, this kind of hierarchies can also support, can also give the advantage of polymorphic query. We address, right, class. When I come to you, I address you as class, I address you as students. That's a polymorphic query, which means I'm talking to each and every person. Getting that? So please understand this. And also remember the top class will always be common noun, the parent class will be common noun, and they are not visible. That's why we also call that as abstract class. Got it, guys? Am I making sense here? Okay. The next thing is the word encapsulation. Now, this is also a very interesting word. Please understand. In general, in most of the videos and online tutorials and most of the YouTube channels, fine, they say encapsulation is hiding. Now, let me give you a clear cut statement here, guys. Never ever use the word hiding when you define encapsulation. Encapsulation is basically binding. There ends the matter. Binding the right data with the right behavior, binding the properties and functions together is what we call it as, or classes together is what we call it as encapsulation. Okay, what do we achieve with binding? Binding the right data with the right behavior helps us to hide something and expose something. Please understand. In fact, that's basically the property which we get by achieving encapsulation. The advantage I get by achieving encapsulation. In fact, people go to the extent of saying giving private, public, protected in a class brings encapsulation. Please understand, guys. That has nothing to do with encapsulation. Basically, in a class, you do achieve hiding through private, public, and protected. Encapsulation is binding. Now, binding the right data find brings hiding. Advantage of encapsulation is hiding, and through hiding we don't achieve encapsulation. Please understand that. Fine. Like for example, I am hiding all my other qualities when I do teaching to you. So I have encapsulated the right behavior of teaching in a classroom, because of which my other behaviors are hidden. Correct or not? So when we do encapsulation, one of the byproducts advantages you get is hiding. So through hiding, see, we don't achieve encapsulation. Hiding is another property. So binding the right data with the right behavior is what we actually refer it as encapsulation. If somebody says like, no, why you are, if somebody asks you why you are living, will you say to eat? No, right? But eating is also there. But we don't tell that as an objective. Similarly, when somebody says what is encapsulation, please don't say hiding. That is very derogatory statement which you can give. Hiding is a byproduct and a advantage you get when you're doing encapsulation. Encapsulate, but definitely you get that advantage. But the real purpose of, or rather real thing explanation of encapsulation is binding the right data with the right behavior. That's what we call as encapsulation. Getting, by doing so we can achieve hiding. But by doing hiding, don't ever think that no, you can achieve encapsulation. Now that's an absurd way of describing encapsulation. Getting that? So when I do encapsulation, of course I will not reveal everything. See, you don't know everything of me, right? I don't know everything of you. Now that process is what we call as abstraction. By achieving encapsulation, you get the right behavior exposed and the wrong behavior hidden. And that particular phenomena is referred as abstraction. You should say abstraction. Encapsulation leads to abstraction. I am exposing my technical and teaching skills here. What is that I am hiding? I am hiding my personal things. Correct or not? I am hiding my personal things. I am exposing that teaching and technical skills. So that is encapsulation, and because of which I have got a phenomena called abstraction. Got it, guys? Understand this much, that should be sufficient. Polymorphism. Polymorphism is all about one object doing many jobs. Perfect chameleon. We keep changing colors. I go in a bike, another bike guy crashes me. So I look at him whether he is strong or weak than me. If he's stronger than me, I'll say, sorry, sir. No problem. Please. It's my mistake, sir. But if he is weaker than me, then you should see me. Bharatanatyam, Kathakali, all dance performance I will do. Correct or not? So I am polymorphic. I keep changing my colors. Data changes, behavior changes. Object oriented programs behave on data, work on data. Function oriented programs work on functions. Like a dog. Dog is function oriented. Like you wear a coat suit and throw a stone on dog, it will bite. You go with a lungi and a banyan, throw a stone, still it will bite. Correct or not? The only person, no, it's very surprising. When the corporation guy comes with a van, it runs away. So it has some sense, but does not have proper sense. That's what. That's why the sixth sense alone is not there. Five senses are there. So it has a no. I mean, very diluted, kind of stuff. But humans are very intelligent compared to dogs and cats. Correct or not? So they behave based on the data. Data changes, behavior changes. That's what we call as polymorphism. And we achieve polymorphism, but not exactly through overriding and overloading. There are many things by which you can achieve polymorphism, but one of the famous two ways is overriding and overloading. But believe me, Python does not support overloading. We'll talk about this later also. Python does not support overloading. Means one function, two times the function is defined with the same name. Two functions are defined with the same name. Now that is not possible with Python. Other object oriented language we have. Got it? Is that clear? Fine. Let me stop with this. Fine. In the next video, we are going to talk about how we are going to implement these loops in the form of classes in Python. Okay, guys. Thank you.